Let me get straight into this evening's proceedings with some insight into the work that we do at SENZEF and with some insight into our thinking at the Zakah Fund. It is known that South Africa, we are faced with a very unique challenge of trying to reduce poverty, but at the same time, build a vibrant economy. Business and NGOs such as SENZEF that are involved in what we call developmental work often find ourselves at a crossroads and sometimes potentially in conflict with business interventions and business methodologies. Of course, community development work and business, while they may appear to be in conflict, they are driven by different imperatives. Development work is driven by social welfare needs, and business, rightly so, is driven by economic imperatives. The question is then, can we reconcile the two? For SENZEF, it's not a question of can we, it simply must be done. However, we need to see business and enterprise as much more than simply an economic instrument focused on profit. Profit is only one measure of success. One must see business as a critical social institution within our society. And I want to emphasize that. One must see business as a critical social institution within society. Engaging in business, for example, helps to create education. Engaging in business builds a sense of self-worth. Engaging in business confers stature in society. As businessmen, you will appreciate the themes that I'm touching on. But business also develops cooperative thinking and social intelligence. And of course, business helps to put food on the table or to pay the rent. So if we need to invest in business or to subsidize them directly, it is likely to be money well spent. However, while broadening our minds around what business is and does, we cannot escape the realities of the rules of business. The reality is that business is not for sissies. Operating a business successfully, even when subsidized and supported, is tough. It demands considerable commitment and dedication. But luck, as luck would have it, plays a role in business as well. And I suppose that there are two types of luck. There is what we would call good luck and what we would call bad luck. And by good luck, I mean when an entrepreneur, when a businessman, when an enterprise seizes an opportunity that is presented to him, maybe sometimes out of the blue. And that is luck. You happen to be in a bus, you happen to be somewhere, and the person next to you is somehow interested in what you are doing. And you're able to set up a networking opportunity. You could be like me, fly to Cape Town and Johannesburg and close my eyes the whole way because I'm sort of fear flying. Or like others, and more recently I was irritated by a gentleman who just insisted on talking to me the whole 2.5 hours from wherever we flew. But there was a fantastic networking opportunity if only we are wise enough, and that is your luck. And the bad luck is potentially the decisions you make that are detrimental to the kind of businesses that you run. Put another way, a lucky business or an individual knows what to do with an opportunity when it comes their way and knows how to deflect and avoid obstacles that are put in their path. It is all about preparation and response. But luck is linked to knowledge and leadership. Decisive, innovative, entrepreneurial leaders can steer a business to success even through the most hostile of external environments. Poor leadership, on the other hand, will cause the business to fail at the first hurdle. When talking of success and failures, let me try and give you another perspective. There are relatively easy and conventional ways of measuring success. Ask a typical MBA graduate, and he would suggest that turnover and profit are a measure of success. Certainly they are. However, he may even add things like how much has the business grown in a period of time? How many people have been employed? What is the net income? What skills development have taken place? And how is the turnover affecting the turnover? Or how is the profit affecting turnover? These are tangible, measurable objectives. There is another measure, a measure that may seem a little less tangible, but let me put it to you anyway. We may want to ask, how is the net income contributing to the livelihood opportunities of the people running the business? We may want to ask, are they using the money that they are making to improve their household nutrition? We may want to ask, are they using the money to improve their health, to improve the education of those around them? Now, those may not be immediately tangible, okay? And lastly, we may want to ask, whatever that they make, is it being utilized for futile or useless outcomes? Are they spending it, for example, at the local restaurant or other places every week? Which is not necessarily an objective that we want to achieve out of our resources. Finally, I need to mention this because often we are accused as NGOs, as community organizations, of only celebrating success and hiding, if you wish, our failures. I would be amiss if I suggested that we only had success. Certainly we have failures. And the failures that we have are not always a result of something that we have control over. But the failures oftentimes are the learning curves that we have to go through in order to achieve the next success. A little later, we will distribute the latest newsletters if you haven't received it at the masjid this afternoon, after Jummah. And we are very bold there to suggest that certainly we have made many strides, but also we have had some failures. And the failures is what we are going to use to learn from in order to improve for the future, inshallah. We ask you for your du'as for that. A business that starts up and closes down, or an individual leaving the sector for greener pastures, does not necessarily constitute failure. There are numerous reasons why businesses close and people move on. Often, it is because a new opportunity arises and not necessarily the failure of the existing business. Also, it is often the lessons learned in the first enterprise that later on in life helps the person to track themselves through the second and third enterprises that they eventually go through. Look around us, not necessarily within the Muslim community, but just globally. Some of the entrepreneurs and some of the wealthiest people in the world have had many bust situations before eventually they landed up with the pot of gold. And the pot of gold was something to do with luck, but certainly with the experiences that they've had over the years that they've picked up in the knocks that they've taken along the years. So what do we want to achieve out of the SANZEF Business Training Program? Well, amongst other things, we want to prevent failure. But failure is not always in our hands. And Maulana Hassan will just touch on that a little later. We want to stimulate growth. And that again talks about the entrepreneur and talks about the person who we've assisted in getting onto his feet. And lastly, probably most importantly, we want to achieve an enterprise or a business that is resilient, robust, and stable. It mustn't collapse at the first challenge. It mustn't collapse the first time it's not able to pay its rent, for whatever reason. It mustn't collapse the first time it gets taken to the CCMA. The resilience, the robustness, and the stability that we hope that we are able to confer on our trainees is what we're hoping that they will take on year on year. This evening then is exactly about that. It is about encouraging the people that we have sponsored to grow beyond their survivalist level. The businesses that we've essentially supported, honestly speaking, are not entrepreneurs that are going to make a couple of 100,000 at the end of the year, and that we can be excited about how much they've made. Of course, if they do make a couple of 100,000, you know where our offices are, you've got our banking details, and of course, you will come and sort us out again, inshallah. But what we would like to create is we would like to create a sense of strength that they may continue even if and even when they face the hurdles and the challenges. That's a very brief introduction. We don't want to take too much time this evening talking. Actually, we wanted to use the opportunity to celebrate. And of course, we have our unique way of celebrating as Muslims. And we will use that occasion as well.